All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. If we could get everybody's attention. Might be a little bit harder over the crowd we have this evening. Thank you all for being here. It is 7 o'clock straight up, and we will call this regular meeting of the Tahlequah City Council to order with a roll call from the clerk.
Councilor Long? Here. Councilor Combs?
Here.
Councilor Hires? Councilor Bliss?
Here. Just as a quick note, clerk, keep your eye out for Councilor Hires. He is on his way in from Muskogee. They had a kind of a family situation arise, but I think he's got it under control, and he will arrive as quickly as he can. Next up is our invocation, which you see on your agenda. It says Pastor John Lee from Park Hill Baptist Church, but we have Mr. Joe Shearhart with us this evening to lead us in the invocation instead of a substitute. Joe?
Let's pray together. Father, first of all, I thank you for these who have volunteered their time to serve on this council. I thank you for their hard work. I thank you for the hours they put in. I thank you for their knowledge and their skill. And Lord, tonight is a special meeting, I just found out. And Lord, I pray that you would be governing this meeting with peace, with kindness, with gentleness. And Father, I pray that all facts, all necessary facts will come out, that wisdom will be used in the long run, and that the best decisions will be made in all matters, Lord. We thank you for our community. We thank you for just the kind people and the good people of our community and those that do so much good work. And we pray for your protection over our community. Pray for those who are law enforcement, who risk their lives, and pray your blessing upon them, your protection upon them. And then, Lord, tonight we pray that the best decisions will be made for Tahlequah and for just moving forward and prospering as a community. We pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
If you'll join me for the flag salute. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Shearhart. Appreciate it very much. Item number 2 is our comments section. Comments will be accepted from the general public concerning topics that are not included in the meeting's agenda. Individuals will be limited to 3 minutes of speaking time, and the cumulative total of all comments from the public shall not exceed 15 minutes. Preference will be given to Tahlequah citizens, and in compliance with the Oklahoma Open Meeting Act, no action or discussion is permitted by the City Council on any issue or topic raised by a speaker during this public comment period. Is there anyone who'd like to make any comments at this time? Seeing no hands going up, we'll move on to item number 3, which is our consent agenda. These items are placed on the consent agenda so that members of the City Council, by unanimous consent, can designate routine items to be approved by one motion. Any item proposed on the consent agenda not meeting with the approval of all council members will be removed and heard in regular session. Councilors, it looks like it's a pretty routine set of items, but we would await your motion or whatever items you'd like to remove.
Motion to approve.
A motion to approve the consent agenda and a second from Councilor Combs. Clerk, give us a roll call, please.
Councilor Bliss?
Yes.
Councilor Long?
Yes.
Councilor Long? Or Combs, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item number 4 is our announcements, presentation, and reports. We have one employee listed tonight to commend for his decade of service to the police department. Officer Reed Phelps, Chief, is he with us this evening?
No, sir, he's not.
Okay. But if any of you know Mr. Phelps, please tell him thank you for his 10 years of service to the Tahlequah Police Department and the members of this community. And then is there a member from the library, or representative from the library, here to give their report this evening? Not seeing anyone rise. Let's go to the report from the Tahlequah Convention and Visitors Bureau. we have anyone from the CVB? Cindy, are you going to handle both things, I would assume?
Mayor and council members, thank you so much. I have a little gift for you. It is our new Truly Tahlequah Visitor's Guide that is fresh off the press. So I'll pass all of those with Deanna as I leave the podium. These guides will be presented or placed in strategic places around Tahlequah. If anyone is interested in putting this in your location, just give us a call down at the chamber office. And also they'll be sent to state visitor centers, hotels, stores, and other venues around the state of Oklahoma. And we also are shipping these out as we speak tonight to other neighboring states so that they'll be in various locations. The tourism department is in the process of building some itineraries for several large groups. We have some already secured visiting late this summer. We have an 80-person antique auto group coming into Tahlequah and staying with us for the weekend. A traveling group of 35 RVers from Kansas and Oklahoma, and 100 Oklahoma kayak anglers. So we're very excited about that effort we're making to demographically target audiences and different groups around the state and outside of the state. We are also in the process of creating seasonal promotional videos to promote Tahlequah to groups, organizations, and in the near future conventions. So we will be able to house those once all of our hotels get open and operating. And just this past week, we spent time at the Tulsa Boat Show as a partner association with Greater Lake Tin Color Association. And we were able to pass out our new guides and share our stories of great things to do here in the Tahlequah area. And then we're also in the process of finalizing our marketing plan for the remainder of 2019 and early part of 2020 and creating our budgets. So it's very exciting to see all the things that are happening through our tourism department at the Chamber of Commerce. And then the final thing from the Chamber, thank you to each candidate that participated in our forum recently. We had a great attendance. And I think everyone did a great job, so we appreciate that. And for those who attended our Legislative Focus Friday. Also, our Legislative Focus will be held March, April, and May on the first Friday at various locations. So everyone just go to our Facebook at Tahlequah Chamber, and you would be able to get information on any of those events that are taking place in the future. Thank you.
Thanks, Cindy. Appreciate it. Thank you for the work you performed. It was great. Next up is the reports from the city departments. Department heads over here to my left. Do you all have anything that you'd like to say at this time? Provide a report.
Mayor, just prior to the meeting, I handed out a pretty detailed written report for last month's activity. And I don't have anything else to add to it.
Council, do you have any questions of the commissioner or any of the department heads we have with us this evening? Thanks, sir. Appreciate it very much. Next up is our regular session. Item number 5, discussion and possible action on items removed from the consent agenda. There were none. So we'll move to item number 6, which is discussion and possible action regarding my Tahlequah 2040 comprehensive plan, including but not limited to discussion and any actions necessary related to the petition to terminate plans for the Downing Street Road Diet. Councilor Long.
Thank you, Mayor. As we all know, we were given this draft comprehensive plan approximately 2 weeks ago. It's about 235 pages, a lot of information, a lot of content in here. And so obviously a lot of people within this room have read and reviewed this, and we understand this is a draft document, but there are a lot of business owners who've reached out to me over the last 2 weeks since this draft document became public. Therefore, that kind of intrinsically created a petition in which I believe we have approximately 49 businesses who wanted this opportunity to meet with all the councilors and the mayor in one setting. They felt it would be a lot more efficient to meet with us here in this official format compared to having one-on-one meetings with everybody. That would obviously take a lot of time for us to meet with all those individuals. In conjunction conjunction with the 49 businesses who wanted to share their input tonight, and I know they'll correct me if I'm wrong on these numbers, they may have changed since this morning. There's approximately 3,200 individual members of the community who have also signed petitions stating that they are against the road diet as it is presented in this draft comprehensive plan. So with that being said, I wanted to kind of make a few statements and just say, obviously, people have wanted my opinion as a city councilor. Obviously, I support bikeability, I support walkability, and I support the business owners. And I feel that there's a way that we could all come together and compromise, because I think a lot of people who want to keep the 4-lane for business reasons, and a lot of people who support the bike lanes for both ADA accessibility, bikeability, walkability. Nobody, I think, is saying that they're against safe streets for everyone in the community. But that's kind of why we wanted this format for the business owners to come. They have a designated speaker that's going to be Angie Taylor from Save a Lot, and all the other business owners also wanted to retain the right to also come up and speak if there's something that they feel that Angie has not adequately stated about their concerns for the road diet. But before they come up and kind of share their concerns, it might be helpful to them if the councilors or the mayor would want to share their input on where you feel about the road diet, so they know what additional information they need to interject with us.
Councilors? Only two of you at this point.
Well, I'll go ahead and speak to that. I agree with Councilor Long that there's two needs needing to be addressed, right? The healthy community initiative, and then fostering the small business in town. And I don't see how why there wouldn't be a reason that we couldn't do both. So I'd like to see 4 lanes stay on Downing, and we implement some crosswalks there with some university-style push-button lights, and those lights stay green until somebody wants to cross the street, right? Do that in between intersections so it doesn't cause a fumble, and create a wide sidewalk to accommodate all the traffic we can possibly get on the north side of Downing Avenue. And we can amend current ordinances like we did with the skateboards. We allowed the skateboarders to skateboard on certain streets through town. We can allow bicycles to ride their bicycle on a sidewalk, which currently, as it is today, that's against local law. So I think there's a way that we can have the best of both worlds without taking away one of the busiest streets in town. And if Tahlequah is growing, there's no doubt about that. To me, it's just backwards to want to recognize the growth, but then not try to keep that infrastructure that we have in place to foster that growth. So that's kind of my stance on it, folks.
Well, I'm not advocating one way or the other, 3 lanes or 4 lanes. I'm definitely for business and growth in Tahlequah. And what I want is, and what the plan calls for, is for a group of people in each area to come together and see how we can implement these. And it's just a draft, and I want to use everybody that we can to use these. I don't know if we want stoplights all up and down Downing or narrow it down. I mean, it's up to the community. So.
The only thing I would add to that is that this has been a recurring, intermittent conversation since I think a gentleman named Dan Burden came in 2000, was it 14? 13? I don't remember. 13. And he suggested half a dozen things, one of which was the road diet. We had a counselor get really enamored with the concept, and I was pretty skeptical. I was eventually brought around by a little bit of data that was collected on a traffic count, but tried to go out and have some conversations here and there with about a dozen or so business owners along the corridor. And it went pretty well at first, but the more they got to thinking about it, they would eventually fall back and say, wait a second, that may threaten our, and some of them picked up on it right away, and I was surprised they didn't. I survived the trip out to their place of business, but others, it took a little bit of time. They'd come back and say, we've got some reservations about this. And so we let it drop and waited to see if it came up in this planning process that we started. When did we bring you all on?
2 years ago.
2 years ago. And to the best of my memory, there hasn't been much conversation about it except through whatever happened with that plan, that process. And here we are. I guess the document came out and everybody found those 3 pages and got understandably concerned because your livelihoods, or at least many of you, your livelihoods are at stake. And we recognize that. And don't want anyone to ever think we don't. So we're here tonight to have that conversation. Councilor Long, if you want to say anything else before we have Ms. Taylor?
No, if we can ask Ms. Taylor to come to the podium.
Sure, absolutely.
You have to ask her to for.
No.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. These are our petitions that were signed by the concerned citizens. There's 3,200 plus.
I know she counted them. I know Angie. She's a very data-driven person.
I am an accountant.
She's an accountant by trade.
We did 2 separate petitions, actually. So we did one for concerned citizens and one for business owners, and these are the counselors. So I was here 4 years ago, March of 2015. And the reason I came 4 years ago was because this was what was in the newspaper, the road diet. I'd never heard of it. This was 2015. We had purchased Save-A-Lot in 2012. My husband picked this up at I believe probably Speedy's, because we live in Welling. And he was very concerned. He said, what is this? And so in the article, it reports that the mayor went to about 15 business owners and about 12 were positive of it. We weren't one of those business owners, and so we weren't really sure who he had talked to. So I called the city. I didn't know anybody at the city. I think I spoke to Clint Johnson because his name was in the article. I expressed my dismay that they had not spoke to us about this, my concerns. He told me about the study they went to and how that they decided they wanted to do this. I don't know how exactly we ended it, but he just gave me the information of where they were coming from. So then we called the mayor's office, made an appointment with Jason. My husband and I, Rod, we met him at his office, and we expressed our concerns. We felt like this was potentially would hurt our business and other businesses. So he kind of explained where they were coming from. He kind of said that he saw reasons for it, reasons against it, this and that. I don't know that I felt resolution, but he said it was already going to be on the agenda. So kind of at the end, I sort of just made a comment, who do I need to see about promoting small business? And he said, well, the chamber. So the chamber just happened to be advertising for directors. So that's the direction I went. But before that happened, March 24, 2015 was when it was on the agenda. I came, my husband came, a few people came with us. None of the counselors that are here today were counselors at the time. The only people that I believe were here I think Jason wasn't here, but he was the mayor, and Clint was here. And I just expressed my concern. I was very concerned. I was upset that they didn't talk to us. I was upset that no one said, hey, how's this going to hurt your, is this okay? Will this hurt your business? How is this going to affect your traffic? How is this going to affect your parking? How is this going to affect your customers' ability to get in and out? I felt like those were legitimate concerns. And the more I thought about it, the more I thought about all the other owners on Downing. And I just didn't understand. So I made my case 4 years ago. They decided that obviously we had not been talked to, the business owners. So they did not vote it to come to pass. They said, they were not going to take any action, and they recommended that the city would visit with us. So I joined the chamber board. That is how I know Grant. That's how I know Dower. That's how I know Bree and other people in here. So I know a few more people than I did 4 years ago. While I was on the chamber, I talked to just about anybody who would listen to me about my concerns, because we just bought our business, and this was everything. We took every dime we had to buy that business. We bought the building. It's old. It had been there a long time, and we wanted to be able to be successful. We needed to have an income. We needed to be able to stay having a grocery store on this side of town. We're the only one on this side. I know it's really old. I used to work for Maurice Box when I was like 20. He died, he left it to his wife. We ultimately bought it from her. Anyway, I had all these concerns, and so I was trying on the chamber to be involved with people, to be involved in committees. I was the treasurer for the chamber, so I was on the executive committee. I met a lot of great people. I made some good friends. But in the back of my head, I was like, okay, I know that this is gonna come back up. So I would tell people, what do you think about this? I'm worried about it. So November 2016 comes along, and the city bids out for the comprehensive plan. I attempted in different ways to sort of be a part of that, very unsuccessfully. I met with Mark Seibold over here from Crafton and Toll. I asked to meet with him, and I shared my concerns because I knew that nobody had actually came and talked to the business owners, that we weren't really being represented, that nobody thought about how it would affect us, and we generate a lot of sales tax. I told him that. He said, I said, what happens if I go out of business? He said, somebody else will come in. That bothered me. I want to be successful. I want to be successful for Tahlequah. I want to be successful for my children. I want to be successful for the other business owners on the street. I was very frustrated because I felt like, and I don't know who gave the direction for the committee. I don't know who gave the direction to Crafton and Toll, but they were not seeking actively or inactively really any input from the Downing Street business owners. And if you look at page 2 of the acknowledgments of who is on the steering committee, there is not one single Downing Street business owner on there. Not one. Not one property owner, not one Downing Business Street owner. And we are in this plan, this 240-page document, I would say about 100 times. And I was shocked. I'm in it. My store is in it. There's a picture of my store in the plan. Somebody took a picture of my store and didn't come talk to me. That bothers me. I am passionate. When I was here in 2015, there was a lot of talk about how passionate the city was and what a great thing. And I have never been against bikeability, walkability. In fact, we have a lot of customers who walk to our store. They don't have vehicles. There's students who walk. I've always wanted really good sidewalks to make it all the way up Downing. I think that's extremely important. I don't have very many bicyclists, but Mark told me to get a bike rack. I got a bike rack. A couple people have used it, not many. I want them to bike. I want them to walk. But honestly, I can sell more groceries to people in a car. And most people drive cars. So the public sessions went on. My husband and I and Amy Cochran, I don't really know why she was there, but I think they were trying to double up on meetings. We spoke with him a second time. Not really any change. We attended the public sessions. April 2017, the city sort of wrapped up the comprehensive planning sessions. At the last meeting that I recall, and I could be wrong, but October 2017, at the last public meeting where the plan was presented to the public, they said, we're not going to talk about Downing because it's controversial. So they didn't talk about it. And then I don't remember another meeting coming back up. Early 2018, I think I called Jason. There was some stuff on Facebook, and I said, Jason, I'm very concerned. I don't understand why it's still in there. It bothers me. Can we meet? So his office called me to have a meeting. I kind of thought I was wrong, but I kind of thought it was like for multiple business owners. But when I came, I had told Jodine Worth, I said, hey, are you going to the meeting for Downing Street business owners? And she's like, no, nobody called me. And I said, well, I'll go. So she's like, well, we'll go. So we come, and it was, if I remember correctly, it was Jason, it was Scott Wright, and it was Zach Ellsman of Talking Leaves Job Corps. I don't know what he had to do with it, but there wasn't anybody else, and I just didn't understand that. I'm not the only business on Downing. Anyway, the idea after that was floated around for the Downing Boulevard District as somewhat of a compromise. It actually is not in the comprehensive plan, so I don't really know how that goes with that. Last summer, we called Dower. We asked Dower to come to the store and visit. Rod visited with him about his concerns. We called Bree. She came and visited with us. October 18, in the fall, Stephen, which he's not here, but he put on Facebook on a video that the plan was getting wrapped up. It was coming to fruition, it was getting closer. So I was like, okay, where's the plan, And then I come to January, and when I found out that the plan was out, that had been emailed, I saw there was a couple people on Facebook who posted about it. I was like, okay, what's in the plan? And it was in the plan. So I'll just kind of walk through a couple things first that concern me. Page 44 in the plan, one of the things that bothers me is it says, under attributes, to place importance of pedestrian circulation above vehicular traffic. I want people to safely walk through that street. But I'm telling you, there's 10,000 plus cars that came in 2014, and I guarantee you since Casey's came in, and some other things, there's probably more. And when Hastings gets done building their new hospital and the medical school, and possibly a development across the street, I am sure there's going to be more traffic. So that's a lot of cars for potentially maybe 20 bicyclists a few months of the year. It doesn't make sense to me. The outcome on page 48 of the plan says the increased density will provide a reduction in car use and increasing foot traffic to support downtown business. Again, it's reducing car traffic. On page 65 of the plan, scenario 1 and 2, it says, with fewer restrictions on the mix of residential and commercial uses, commercial activity will increase while reducing vehicular traffic. I don't really know why that is the goal, because I live in Welling. I will never be able to walk to work. I will never be able to bicycle to work. I can't take my kids to school on a bike. People come in from Keys, Briggs, Moody, Terracida, Cookson, and when we go out, and I know this because I was on the chamber, and we try to get businesses to come to Tahlequah, they say it's too small, so we tell them we have this large area around Tahlequah that encompasses these small rural communities, and all together we have enough business to support this. And so we want those people coming in. I don't have anywhere else to go but Tahlequah. Page 66, it says, focus on pedestrian and bike circulation. Again, I'm not against that. It's just that at what cost? The 78 is the plan that I saw that actually shows it shows 2 actual lanes of traffic, and then in the middle, it's a turn lane interspersed with these medians with trees in them, with a nice large one with 3 trees in it in front of Save-A-Lot. which I specifically asked multiple times the people that I talked to that not to be there. Page 130 of the plan shows a road diet on Downing Street. Page 160 of the plan shows the proposed road diet on Downing Street. Page 168 of the plan shows a proposed road diet on Downing Street. Page 171 shows, it says plan elements, proposed road diet, a road diet, narrowing the lanes down to 10 foot for the bike lanes, recommending the road diet. On page 207, it says, at the top recommendation, support reduced dependence on automobile trips. On page 210, it says, redesign Downing as a complete street, refer to specific interventions, referencing that. So I did my best to understand why this is the focus. And I didn't really know what to do. I was just frustrated. So my husband and I discussed it, and I felt like we had went to those meetings. There were some surveys. We did the surveys. I don't remember the survey actually addressing a specific road diet. We just didn't really know how to get the pulse. We have a lot of people who shop at our store. And so we decided we wanted to do a petition for our customers, for our people that we personally knew. I wasn't going to go on Facebook. I wasn't going to do a survey. I just wanted people I knew. So my sister helped me draft a document that just asked the concerned citizens if they were against this. And we brought them to the store like a week and a half ago, and we started asking people if they wanted to sign. We weren't pressuring them. Read it yourself. It's right there. And then my husband spent the next several days up and down Downing talking to the business owners. We knew more of them than we did 4 years ago because we talked to a few of them before. And I'm telling you, most businesses will tell you that nobody came and asked them how this is going to affect them. Chris Blish owns the Magic Loop. It changed to Chris's Loop. He has a delivery truck of oil that cannot go behind his shop, the way I understand it. It has to park there for 10 minutes maybe. I don't know exactly. What's going to happen? He'll have to move. I mean, he won't even be able to survive. We have huge semis that deliver groceries. I know there's other restaurants who have large trucks. I just feel like somebody could have, at any point, came and talked to us and said, how will this work? And I've heard a lot of stuff about it's just a plan, but it's a plan that costs $185,000. And it's a plan that says that, well, that's the price we said we were going to pay for it. Maybe we haven't paid them that, so I don't know. But it's a plan that says this is what we're going to do. That's what a plan is. This is what we're going to do. So for the people who say, oh, we'll just take that out. Okay, let's take it out. I'd really like to take it out tonight. That's why I'm here, because I don't want to spend any more of my time on this. I have a 9-year-old, I have a 12-year-old, they have homework, I have to cook, I work, I do all of our bookkeeping, I help do a lot of stuff, and I'm volunteering at my kids' school, and it has been so frustrating for me, because this is my life. This is my kids' future. This is where we will live always. And I don't want to waste my time fighting the city. And I don't want that to be what this is. But I have asked everybody I know, almost, to please consider my request. And I have felt like that it just didn't get heard. And so we went to our customers. And the other thing I would say, sort of in closing, is this. I am not more important than anybody else, and so I'm not trying to say that. But we collect sales tax. All of us do. And that's what pays for a lot of the things that we can do. And I want that base to grow. I would love Downing to be more successful. If it's more successful, I'm more successful. If I'm successful, Downing, it's a mutually beneficial relationship. And since we purchased the store in 2012, we've collected almost $1.6 million in sales tax. Now, it's not all city, it's state and county and city, but that's a lot of sales tax. So it's important that we don't do anything. Any impact on our sales impacts the city. And I would love to see better lighting. I would love to see better sidewalks all the way up. I would love to see beautification. I would love to see a lot of positive things. I would actually also like to see less crime. I'd like to see less vagrancy. There's been a lot of problem with that for us. You know, people come in our store. We've had to call the police out a lot sometimes, you know. We've had people passed out drunk in our bathroom. So, you know, this is important to us. And we employ a lot of kids. Most of our employees are college kids. We have a few high school, and we have adults as well. But this is important to us. We feel like we're trying to be good citizens. We feel like we're trying to be add to the community. We want to be helpful. We've tried to be active in every way that we can to be a positive force. But it has been a very frustrating experience. And I don't really appreciate when people say, Downing's where you go to die. This is Downing die. You know, it's a blighted street. It's a trashy street. Yeah, there's some things that can be improved, and it is an older street, but there's a lot of great businesses and a lot of great people who are there. And we are growing, and we are happy to grow. We have tried very hard to improve our store. We have a lot more we'd like to do, but we can't do it if our sales go down. I'll guarantee you that. But we want to see growth there. We want to see where there's empty spots. We'd love to see sandwich shops, other types of things. We think there's a lot of great ideas. I really don't like it when people act like we're the negative people, because we do have a lot of good ideas, but nobody's asking what those are. Nobody's asking, hey, come on over here. We want to have a meeting with all of you. Let's just talk about how your traffic goes in and out of your store. How does your parking work? What can we do to accommodate bicyclists, pedestrians, and all the people who drive on Downing. Downing is a busy street, and it's very busy at certain times of the day. It's extremely busy, 7 to 7:30 in the morning, around 3 to 3:30, around 5 to 6. Wednesday night at Brahms after church, everybody's going to Brahms, you know. It's a busy street, and it's going to get busier, and we just really feel like reducing the lanes is a terrible idea. We just spent a year widening the lanes on 4th Street. So why do we want to narrow it? We're a lot busier than 4th Street. We want a better solution, and we would like to have a voice. We would like to be part of the discussion. We would like to be part of any future committees from the city that have to do with plans that affect the future, because it affects us in a very big way. And I can't tell you how thankful I am for the overwhelming response. We started this petition a week and a half ago. We have 3,200 people who signed it. We had businesses say, hey, can we sign it? So I think, if I remember, they were signing at Big B, Advanced Auto, El Zarape, Presley's Burgers, all this. I forgot to mention, and I don't want to not say this, but we do represent 49 business owners and property owners on Downing. And we, as a group, feel like this is a negative thing for our street. I will tell you, Sunrise Donuts, Tahlequah Printing, Presley Burgers, Chris's Quick Lube, Oak Park Motel, Pizza by Manouche, Robert Webb Dentistry, Sooner Electronics, Sundown Tanning, Modern Cleaners, Edward Jones, property owner on Downing, Danny's Muffler, property owner on Downing, Advanced Auto, Ahmad Pediatrics, Laura Lund State Farm, Larry's Tire, El Zarape Mexican Restaurant, Kathy's Dog Grooming, New Start Nutrition, TMC Pharmacy, Mitchell Family Chiropractic, property owner on Downing, Grand China Restaurant, Colonial Manor Apartments, Family Dollar, Hair Connection, Medical Equipment Affiliate, Save-A-Lot, Richard's Computer Works, Western Finance, Health First, Subway, Simple Simon's Pizza, Cox Drug, Las Maracas, Super Inn, Winton's Hill Apartments, New to You, property owner on Downing, property owner on Downing, Big B Companies, Riverside Liquor, Brown Rouse Dentistry, Sonic, Mary's Liquor, and 2 other property owners on Downing. We would like to be heard. We don't want to have it be this way. I really wish 4 years ago that maybe somebody from the city would have called me and said, you know what, I heard you speak. I'm sorry that you feel that way. We want to work together with you. But nobody came, and nobody called, and nobody said that. And that's been a frustrating experience. So here we are today. And that's what led me to do the petition. and the other business owners feel similar things. I expressed to them if they have other things that I didn't cover, I wish that they would be able to have a chance to speak. So thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to me. I'm here because I love Tahlequah and I want good things. But I think that if you do things without considering the business owners and the impact economically, you're making a very bad mistake.
I'm the owner of the Pizza by Manoj, 800 East Downing. I've been here 40 years serving Tahlequah. It's not mostly to making money, it's to serve the others. The money comes, the money goes. That's why we're here for the servant. The God is the provider, as a servant, and we are the second servant. We have to serve the others in the right way. We have to supply with the good food, and not letting them drink or smoking or getting in a bad habit. We don't love those. And this is the picture I took of my restaurant. You can pass it in. When the truck is pulling in and pulling out, it's a small drive-through. We get planned. We love to go full and like it is. Maybe we can have a walk.
This is the just to clarify, this is the delivery truck at your facility in front of your restaurant, correct?
Yeah, and I took the picture at 9 o'clock there.
Okay.
And I count the cars coming every second, 2 cars going by. And I counted by the second, 378,000 cars going on a 4-lane.
Wow.
That's so much traffic. And that was 2 o'clock when I counted cars going. And we like to keep the Tahlequah growing in a 4-lane, maybe wider. If there is any way we can go from the waters here, those shiny areas, maybe for the truck riders or the walkers. Walkers is good, welcome. And they can use the sidewalk or not in the street to walk on. We try to help the homeless there. I've been serving the homeless people as much as I can and not charging them. Everybody is the same way. Those poor people are most gifted to us because they have a value of the living, they understand of the appreciation. They have to go through the fire to understand like what appreciation is. What we have on the people with the most things they have nothing. The people with the less things they have, they're more appreciated. And we see some kids, they grow up with a big family and they lose everything, and some people from the zero they started, they can make their life better. You have to be clean from yourself, not from the parents, not from the jewelry or the palaces. You have to be born again and make yourself creative, make yourself useful, do not depend on others. But I don't want to talk to you, I just want to fall in like they is. And I want my driver of the truck come safely and coming in and going out. That's all we ask. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Shorty. Appreciate it. Shorty, if I remember right, Shorty?
Yes.
Shorty, if I remember correctly, you might have been, I think that I came to you first and I said, hey, somebody is asking us to look into this idea. And I said, what would you think as a business owner? And at first you were one of the ones I mentioned earlier who were okay, and then after about a month or so thinking about it, came back and said,
I didn't want to break anybody's heart. I didn't want to make enemies.
Oh, no.
City council. Same way you can I've been here 40 years. And I don't want to have an enemy. I want to live here and I don't want everybody to support me so I can support others. I didn't want to make it. Probably Shorty, but my feelings, I've been here so many years. I finished the NSU in 1983 and I came from Oklahoma City from Edmond. I got a master in NSU in 1983. I've been here since then. And I don't have time to go fishing, I don't have time to go vacation. It's just hard working every day. Like even if you go home, your mind is on business. It's all because you want to serve the others. I don't want to get rich. I just want to have an easy life and send my kids to college, keep my wife happy.
I don't know well enough I can make a joke right now, but nobody else in the crowd will get it, so I won't do that. But, you've known my dad since I was early days. And that's exactly why I approached you first with the crazy idea, to see if it were something that even you would throw back in my face. And I recognized that you were tentative. You said good things, but it didn't take you long to come back. You were one of those people who were, you just said, nah, on second thought, let's not do that.
Yeah, I used to have people like the girls and taking gas money, giving money, but when you get married, everything changes. You have to work for your wife. She gets serious and you cannot do everything you used to do.
I know you pretty well, but not well enough to advise you in that particular arena. Thank you.
By the way, two things. If you don't know Manooch, he's a gem to our community. He actually helps a whole bunch of spinal surgery done. The unfortunate thing is I'm not going to be as soft and fuzzy, okay? I'm going to tell the facts as I see them, okay? 44 years old, my name is Steve Worth. I own a business on Downing Street, own 3 parcels of land, been here many, many years. It's not my wishes to be here. It's my force to be here because the people behind me have not been heard. I hope that some of them also will speak up. I guess I have some of my father in me, but I stick my foot down when I hear something bad. Being a voice of the community, though, I've always been trying to collaborate and work within the community, but also call a spade black when it needs to be, okay? One of the things I want to bring out, and I just for my clarity, because I've done as much due diligence on this as I possibly can. Going back all the way to 2013, and then when Clint did visit at that point in time with the consultant. Clint, how long have you been working with the city?
6 years.
6 years. So since 2013, right? So they hired you on as a new position, and as the article from, everybody write this down, March 5th, 2015, that was in the Tahlequah Daily Press, they sent Mr. Johnson to a Walkable and Livable Communities Institute where Dan Burton spoke. And in 2013, his first year, he came back with a walkability plan that him and Mayor Nichols really liked and have been pushing and proceeding ever since. There was one cohesiveness in this since 2013. It's Mayor Nichols and Clint Johnson. And I will hold those for the ones that keep pushing this. When the comprehensive plan was developed, the Downing Street owners were left out. We weren't talked to. And by the way, you think this group of 50 people behind you don't have better things to do? You're wrong, okay? We're here because of democracy, thank God.
Thank you.
Okay, Mayor Nichols and Clint Johnson have ignored us for over 5 years and proceeded down a path from taking it from a 4-lane to a 2-lane highway. Mayor Nichols, in my opinion, you've written too many political checks. You've told people what they wanted to hear. I mean, you've heard it, listened to them and appeased them, but you haven't listened to them. You've done what you wanted to the entire way. He has an agenda to take the 4-lane to a 2-lane. And they also have been using selective enforcement. I can't tell you since I've opened my mouth how many different businesses that have come to me and other people and employees of the city and talked about that if you're a friend, things are easy, but if you're a foe, heaven forbid. Fear of retribution, fear of retaliation, and Mr. Nichols, the piety that you show by not even looking up at people when they're talking to you. We're a little bit tired of that. And Mayor Nichols, if you look at me, it is my understanding that you have the ability to turn that from a 4-lane to a 2-lane. Is that correct?
We believe that would be the case, but I've not...
So, no, I'm asking you directly. You have the ability to do that.
We believe that.
Not we, you.
We believe that to be the
You're
case.
not answering that. Do you have the ability?
We believe that to be the case.
No, who's we when I'm talking to you?
The administration, the attorney.
No, not the administration and the attorney. So what we're going to hear here is Mayor Nichols
Well,
being recorded.
if I can, Mr. Worth, let's stay on the agenda item. Let's stop the doubting.
I tell you what, this is about the agenda
The
items.
comprehensive plan.
All parties are present.
And it's fine, play the recording.
Okay,
I
I'll
mean,
play the review.
I believe that we believe that I have the ability to do that.
All right, thank you.
But you'll notice that we actually repainted it to 4 lanes under my direction a month ago.
That was after I visited with Mr. Riles. There was some reluctance.
I don't know about.
So if everybody will listen real quietly.
And then now people are trying to say that we put our thumb on the scale about the counts, like we cheated with them. I mean, whatever they can say. This thing's been going on for 6 years. And here's the one other thing that I would say, and please get this right if you're talking to anybody about this. If I wanted that done, it'd be done. I have the authority to restripe this thing that way if I feel like it. Now, the center meetings and stuff, I couldn't go on my own. That's too expensive. It requires council approval. But as far as the 3 lanes and all that, I could have had that done 6 years ago if I wanted. Gotcha. Guess what? It just got repainted.
That's what I was going to say, it just got redone.
It did, yes. So, don't believe the hype. And anybody down this corridor that is kind of buying into this, might hear the truth.
Well, I know there was another place that they were telling us when they were trying to get everybody to sign the petition that they hadn't even been spoken to about it, asked how they felt about it in their business owners.
Well,
and so that's why I was like, well, that's not right.
Really hard, and that's because we haven't even, if it even moved forward. We haven't gotten to that stage yet. But now, I will say this, they were like, half a dozen highly publicized, and a couple of surveys sent out. So they had a chance to say their input, and some of them have, by the way. Some of them were at the meeting. Some of them told me, my text said, well, I wouldn't mind it.
Yeah.
They're just trying to act like we're not.
Right.
So, 656. What's your name, ma'am? Well, we met before.
Probably downtown at something like that.
Well, I work for Church Station, so just don't get too afraid of that being something that's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because it's not. This whole business about being, I actually called up my staff and said, is there something planned? I don't know. I mean, I'm supposed to, They're like, no. And I said, we've thought about putting it on as a discussion item, but they weren't even going to do that. I mean, it crossed their mind. Because at some point we have to.
It was called something about Tahlequah, and it had like an aerial picture of.
We have done a ton of work, even beyond what you're seeing there, to try to tell people, well, here's what the data says, and here's an aerial of what it would look like, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it was something like that was posted on Facebook.
I would never, that's only like 1 page of 3 right there.
Okay, with that, I believe that said I have the authority. Were you speaking for everybody?
I'm sorry, say that again?
On this, it said I have the authority. Are you speaking as for the entire council?
No.
You said I have the authority to make this happen. I had the authority 6 years ago.
I did and my point to those people.
So you do as the mayor have the ability to turn that to a 2-lane automatically?
Because we found that the prices were cheap enough in some instances, it would have been below a purchasing threshold. And I could have and haven't because, and this may shock you, Steve, I never felt like we had properly communicated with the people in this room.
Yeah, you haven't, that's for sure. Okay, there's 50 plus people here that have not done that. Now, I'll send you somebody else up here that you spoke to also, and you basically referred to them as, we can always come back to this. Even if we don't do it now, we'll come back to it, okay? I think that you see from the people that are here, this is a no, okay? Crafton and Tull, They may be great. We have 2 arterial roads that bring business into our downtown. And you're talking about squeezing that down, okay? They sell a plan, guess what? They get paid. You don't let those trucks of these business owners pull out in the street, unload, sundown tanning, save a lot, Manuch, Brahms is a consistent error. That's where we're at. And so I'd like the rest of the business owners to come up and speak, please.
Just for the record, folks, I'm pretty sure there's an ordinance saying that any street changes like that has to come through the council. So just so y'all know.
We never tested the theory. We didn't have any desire. So,
Walk up, Bert.
Mr. Gardner, I'm sorry. Mr. Barlow, go ahead. You all can take turns. We'll get you.
Yeah, I want to try to do something.
Mayor Nichols saying that he had the authority to get this done. And Josh, I want to commend you. You do know that there's an ordinance that forbids the mayor from intervening with these street projects on his own, correct?
Well, I mean, just the fact that it's an aldermanic form of government.
Well, there is an ordinance. I've tried to find a new number, but there's no avail, 1150-2009. That was in the 2012-2014 special audit of the mayor and the street commissioner. In 2013, I do believe, North Cedar Street was being reworked north of the bypass, and Mayor Nichols intervened independently by himself and decided to change North Cedar Street, make it wider, make it be built out of concrete at an expense of $360,000, and violated state statute Title 61, the fair bidding law, and no bids were accepted. It was all done on Mayor Nichols' rubber stamp. So we have tested it. You said we haven't tested it. We have tested it, and at that time, it got brought to light. Thank you.
Mr. I'm neutral here. I'm not on any side of this thing. I just that's what we're doing. And I think what Mayor Nichols is referring to is there's a certain threshold financially.
Right, $10,000.
Yeah. So I think that's what he was trying to suggest a second ago. Up to 10,000, he could do something to that effect if the strike was under 10,000. But anything over 10,000, you're absolutely right. That would be inappropriate.
But it has been done.
Well, can I clarify very quickly?
I understand what you're saying, and I get that.
Can I clarify very quickly? The road was being built to something other than the council-approved standard. And I asked that it be built to that council-approved standard. So yes, it is technically accurate that I asked for it to be widened, but only to fit the category that was on the existing road plan at the time and according to the standards adopted by this body, none of these members. But that was in effect at the time. It still is, to my knowledge. I believe we haven't altered it.
Okay, explain to me why South Bluff is 24 feet wide.
Because we ended up making the decision at the design time with the commissioner and with the administrator and with the engineer to do some traffic calming, to bring it in and make it consistent along each edge to try to keep people to 25-mile-an-hour speed limit.
But there is an ordinance against that, correct?
That is correct. There's a standard that was adopted. And in that case, I will give you that we did violate it.
Was it done at a meeting with a council vote?
It was not.
So again, it was done without council vote.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to say anything at this time? Sir.
Lifelong resident of this town.
I apologize.
And don't really understand what's going on other than y'all are wanting to plant trees down the middle of the 4-lane, make a life lane out of it. Jason, I've come down and I've talked to you about things that go on in this town. stormwater drainage sewer system. Jason, I've come down and I've talked to you about things that go on in this town. Stormwater drainage sewer system, just like Steve said, you duck your head, go to pushing a pencil and ignored me. And I voted for you once, it never happened again. People ought to start using a little bit of common sense around here. I don't like crowds because I get upset, I get really aggravated. But I've never seen so much stupidity around. I got water up there, I can make a jug of tea the next morning, it's slime. And y'all wonder what's happening around here to the children and stuff? Take a look into it. You snuck in I got a letter to come down for a meeting before y'all built the Dollar General up here next door to my house. How many of them damn Dollar Generals we need in this town, like Tulsa? You know? The rapid growth is killing this town. Ask people what they moved down here for. Small town atmosphere. Where is it? You want in a city, go to one.
I'm Pamela Stern. I've lived here 25 years. I own a business, Tahlequah Property Rentals. I have a lot of friends in this town. One of my friends that I spoke with about this and asked their opinion cannot be here because they have children, they're playing games, and he does not live in Tahlequah. He owns American Lock Shop. I believe most of you know Matt. He actually has two buildings here in town, one that was on Downing, one that now is off of Choctaw. Tell me something I hadn't thought of. So, in peace, we all want help for every member of our family, be it child, be it grandparent, cousins, our wives, our significant others. He told me every single day that he gets a call from someone who's locked their keys in their car at the hospital, and he has to race to get those people to be able to get into their car. He said, what you don't think about, and he said, Pam, you tell them, what about the child that's locked in the car and it's hot? I'm sorry to say we read about children that do not survive the heat of summer because of someone's unfortunate situation. Well, it happens at the hospital. We've got two. We'll soon have a clinic. Mistakes happen, accidents happen, death happens, and it's real. And we can't undo that. And he needs split seconds to get there. And the reason I'll speak for him, I'm retired from the medical field, the ear, nose, and throat and dental surgeons from St. Francis Hospital. I was their coordinator. And have seen people, they need a matter of seconds to be able to get an airway established. So please listen to us. Please listen to him through me. And I'm not for this either, but my big concern is the medical implications that no one's thought about, especially a child who can't unlock a door because they're too small to understand. The children will panic a lot more than an adult. And I appreciate your time and you listening to us, because we really are passionate about this. Every single business owner. I've not talked to anyone who favors narrowing Downing. The bike lanes can be put somewhere else, and pedestrian walkways, and the voice automated or activated stoplights that say where you can hear it, you can physically cross the street. We need those for people that are handicapped or blind or just, have difficulty understanding. We do need that. They're expensive. But please hear us and know that we're not trying to be in any way hostile. I'd never thought of Matt's point, so that's why I mentioned it.
Is there anybody else that'd like to make a very quick comment before we move along? Mr. Uzo?
My name is is Dr. John Uso, and I'm a former forensic accounting professor, and the statement that I like to make, it all has relevance to do with what we're discussing tonight. I pulled up the audit reports from the state auditor and inspector for the last 6 years, and the city has not filed timely audits for the last 6 years, and the current audit is still in process. And as the auditor's opinion indicated to the mayor and the council last year, that the mayor and city council in violation of state statutes. I would like you to all really consider remedying that situation. And that has to do with the funding, because the auditor does state the city and the mayor cannot make reasonable decisions with adequate, reliable financial information. And that's the sole reason that I'm making that comment. It has nothing to do with that, and that's the exact statement out of the auditor's report. You all need reliable, sound information on a timely basis to make decisions.
Dr. Webb, go ahead.
I'll make it real quick. I'm Robert Webb, and I'm a dentist. I've had a practice on Downing Street for 39 years, and I guess my thought, thinking common sense wise, that before we would ever even spend a penny on any kind of planning or that kind of stuff, we would have gone to maybe the fire department and said, how do you think that's going to affect emergency situation, gone to the ambulance driver and said, if Downing were 2 or 3 lanes with turn or whatever lanes, how would that affect your... I've sat on Downing Street, looked out my windows and seen so many accidents that happen on Downing Street with a 4-lane, and watch ambulance and fire trucks and even school buses and semis trying to negotiate their way around that area. And so I think we would have saved a lot of time and money if we'd have just thought, that's not a good idea. Other than that, Jason, I'm probably one of the many that no one ever came to my office to say anything to me until I signed the petition the other day. So just another one of those that you overlooked. You didn't like coming to see me when you were a little kid as you didn't.
Dr. Webb, don't take it personally. I just reached out to Shorty and a handful of others trying to see if I would end up needing your help reconstructing my face after bringing up the topic. Didn't really work out that way early on, but someone like Shorty came back later and said, I'm not really sure, and we kind of kicked it down the road. Mr. Johnson, do you want to say anything at this point in time? I mean, you've been around since probably right before this thing got started. There's probably a couple of things that you...
No, I wouldn't dare fall on my sword for this one. It has been a long process. I believe Counselor Spires was the counselor. I think we're about at a 4-year anniversary here when we first spoke about this publicly. She was in her couple of months after losing the election to Counselor Bliss, and she had attended some of the conferences and educational things that Mr. Worth mentioned with Dan Burton. The genesis of that was Dan Burton came here. It was thanks to the Cherokee Nation. They actually received a community transformation grant in 2012, and it's because some of their counties in their territory have some of the worst health outcomes in all of the nation, and so they wanted to do something about health and about making health in your daily lives, using the sidewalks like Mr. Barlow talked about, which we don't have an adequate amount of in this community. And so Dan Burton went to Stillwell, did a walking audit there prior in Tahlequah, and they submitted a report to us. They had a public presentation at the Tahlequah PAC. A handful of people in attendance. Not a lot of people want to come listen to a topic about walkability and bikeability on a Tuesday night. And so You know, I understood where Linda was coming from, that she wouldn't have another opportunity to speak about it on a public stage. And so I said, all right, I'll go out there and I'll talk about this concept. We aren't prepared for it. It hasn't been researched enough. I think at that time we hadn't even performed traffic counts. And so it was just the concept. And the main point of the concept was, like I said previously, it was about health. It was about walkability. Crossing the 4-lane is probably the biggest challenge, and that's what it's trying to help, is to be able to cross the 4-lane. Give that place of refuge in that center turn lane. And that center turn lane also, in return, helps the safety for automobile traffic. It reduces your conflict points significantly. I think we all know when somebody goes to turn left in front of you on Muskogee or Downing, your first instinct is to swing it out into the outside lane so you don't have to stop and wait for them to make their left-hand turn. So those two inside lanes already act as that center turn lane. It's just not very efficient. And so for left turning motions, now you have in your automobile a place of refuge. Instead of pulling into a moving vehicle, a lane with moving traffic, you're pulling into that dedicated center turn lane. So that's helpful there. But it's just a concept, and you know, we did go back out after our first public discussion about it, and we did perform traffic counts. And they were well within reason that the Federal Highway Administration had recommended through their studies. Road diets, which we quit using that term, and I don't know how I let Mark Seibel get away with putting that one in there in hindsight. We had been using the term complete street to better reflect our complete street ordinance. That's what it is it's a complete street looking out for all users of traffic. And so the counts, Federal Highway Administration, 20,000 a day, average daily traffic is your peak. We were somewhat surprised that we were at about 10,000 at the intersection of Cedar and Downing. And as you move west to Water, which would be the extent of the complete street treatment, I think we made it down to about 3,000 cars a day at Water. And so we thought we had something here. We looked at peak average, peak hourly traffic, which can be an issue. The worst time was the pickup and drop-off time for Cherokee Elementary. We recognize that. And we're hopeful with some of the reconfiguration that they've done with their addition, and now where some of the traffic's actually going to Cedar instead of Oklahoma, re-enter Downing after drop-off or pickup. We thought that would help address some of the peak hourly issues. And so, you know, I think the reason it was such a favorable approach is the cost effectiveness of it. It is, like Mary Nichols mentioned, it's, I'm not sure, how much did that cost to paint it to the 4-lane 2 weeks ago? $4,500. And so I don't think we could point to any infrastructure project in that 200-page document that is less than $4,500. I'm with everybody else. I want a sidewalk in front of every house in Tahlequah. I want pedestrian bridges over the bypass. I want to escape the moat. I'll stand here and confess that I'm all about walkability and bikeability. That is a priority to me, and it was also a priority of the community that put in input on this plan. And I'm sorry that not everybody feels like they had their voice heard in it, but we did have 3 public meetings, and we made every effort to get it out there that we're having these meetings.
Can I speak to that, please?
Never came to my shop.
Can I speak to that, please?
I didn't go door to door, and I'm not saying that it did.
You didn't even try.
Mr. Johnson's got the floor. Hold on one moment.
Yeah, you know, it was a group effort. And a lot of it depended on Craft and Tall to make some of that legwork to get people there. You know, people in this administration, this organization, we still had full-time jobs and daily activities that have to be done. And that's why we hired a consultant, because it was beyond our capabilities to put together a 200-page document that is a 20-year vision. So I think that my recommendation would be to, you know, it's such an important document that I would hate for this one somewhat insignificant
Somewhat insignificant.
I'm talking about a $4,500 paint job. If that's going to be the...
We're talking about a livelihood.
I know, and if you let me finish, I'll say my recommendation would be to remove it. I wouldn't want us to move forward because there's 200 pages that need to be reviewed. But you guys, you know, I brought this out as a draft January 7th, so it was almost 30 days ago, not 2 weeks ago.
Sorry.
And I watched the video back because I wanted to make sure that I reiterated that this is a draft and that I need comment. I think I counted 4 times that I told you guys, tell me what you need, what you want in it, what you want out of it, anything. I haven't received a phone call from anybody, I haven't received any emails, I haven't heard any comments from the counselors, and it's been nearly a month, all right? So there's a lot of other things to dig into this document, and if it takes taking this out of the way so we can get down to that, then that's my recommendation, because I wouldn't want this to poison that document, because it's too valuable for our future. And if that's what we got to do to move forward with this and adopt that eventually, adopt that comprehensive plan, then that's what we have to do.
And how did that comprehensive plan get on the agenda?
You requested it.
Actually, yeah, I requested this because of when the draft went out, then I started getting phone calls.
Well, yeah, this
No,
right, but the January 4th comprehensive plan, it's back.
Yeah, we weren't ready to bring it out when you requested it, but
it's been a while since I heard anything about it.
Right. Any other questions?
Steve, were you wanting to make a quick interjection?
No, I think there's another lady who wants
You weren't my student. Okay. We have heard from business owners, but no people who live in the area. Right. Okay? We live on North Oak Avenue, which is about a block. Our house is the block in between Downing and Going Snake. Okay? We already put up with people leaving Northeastern and going zoom all the way to Downing. But anyway, so on Facebook, this person said, oh, they can do it. I just won't drive on it. I'll drive on the neighborhood streets. And I thought, what? Excuse me. Okay, so you need to keep the residents of that area in mind before you do anything goofy. I mean, really. There's 4 lanes. It's fine the way it is. We don't have any trouble driving on it. Can you imagine a lane here, and a turn lane? You know what the people are going to be doing? They're going to be facing each other in that turn lane, not knowing who's going to go where and when. Okay?
Mr. Seinfeld, would you like to step forward and come talk about Craft and Toll's role in this entire conversation?
Yeah. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I really appreciate the opportunity to get in front of everybody again and talk about these issues. I am an architect and city planner and was a staff planner for the city of Choctaw for about 7 years. So I've been in the position that Clint has as being a staff planner with limited resources and having to rely on experts from outside to come in. As a staff planner, the way Clint said, you have to deal with the day-to-day operations in order to keep the customers happy, make sure that business gets done, and ultimately wrestle with the investments that you make in the community and help to unlock that potential, but also make sure that it meets codes. So where we are in this process as consultants, as planners who worked in other communities, is to bring in the best ideas from around the community and around other areas of a similar size and see how they fit. We heard loud and clear this evening that the road diet doesn't fit out of the community. There are some principles, though, that we've addressed that are worth reiterating about walkability and safety and the long-term goals of the community. A specific focus about Downing was the concerns that came out before the RFP. Things have been talked about here about multiple people along the way wanting change. Through the process of developing the comprehensive plan, we had to wrestle with a lot of challenging issues, and the road diet or the issues surrounding Downing were front and center. And I do want to say that I apologize, Ms. Taylor. I do apologize. If I said that, I hope it was out of context. But in the effort to clarify the issue, when we had that conversation and subsequent conversations, it was more about your business and all of the businesses that frame the community, because people are coming to your part of town. In contrast to the larger economic center, which is big box stores. And I am a small business advocate. You will see me spending my money here in this town at the small businesses and having coffee downtown and meeting with people. So I'm not advocating for big business at all. The challenge is, how do we make improvements that are meaningful and are wise investments of public dollars that can also keep your business going and keep everybody else's business going. And I appreciate your comments. I thank you very much for that. And I appreciate you reaching out, because we had the most in-depth conversations about a very passionate and very serious issue, more than any other conversation that we had through the process. We had, I think, over 60 interviews. We have had multiple public meetings, and I think what we've highlighted here is that there needs to be more of that on the front end. There needs to be more communication out to the public. Our effort to listen is the primary goal. We're not here to tell you what to do. We're hearing from you, and we realize through this process that we missed something. And I think we're going to change that very quickly, and it will change. With your approval and with your review after we come up with and revise the draft. And the way the process typically works and why you bring in a consultant from the outside is, from my experience both in Choctaw and working on other comprehensive plans, is there's some things that will work in Tahlequah and there's some things won't. And we kind of have to test those out a little bit. So we didn't create the road map idea. It was something that was already here. And looking for alternatives, it's hard through the comprehensive plan process to address one specific design solution, where that really is back to the engineering side and really comes into needing to engage with the broader community, but we just didn't have the time and opportunity within this process to do that. Now, understanding that the comprehensive plan is a very high-level document, has a lot of big picture, larger economic issues, and addresses a really wide variety of things, from public safety, parks and trails, housing and neighborhoods, and the relationship between the university, the tribes, the city, the county, and all of the other entities that are involved. Downing Street is a critical element to Tahlequah. You cannot dismiss any of the businesses there or any of the relationships with the businesses, the neighborhoods, downtown, and the new development, new infrastructure, new investments that are going off to the east. During the process, and why Downing became important, is we realized that the hospital needed a strong connection in the far east side of town, and really the river too, needed a strong connection to downtown. Through the process, we heard from a lot of people that Downing wasn't as attractive as downtown was, or some of the neighborhoods. And it's possible that there's improvements that can be made within the existing right-of-way. but the design of that road is designed as a state highway. It wasn't designed as a local street. And this was done through ODOT many years ago.
Still a state highway.
Is it still?
Yes, it's still a state highway.
Yes. It is on the outside of the bypass ring. It's been given to the city on the inside.
Jim Chafin said that it is still a state highway. You all were given the ability to have maintenance over it, but everything still has to be cleared through ODOT.
That's not to the best of my knowledge, according to 2 different chief engineers I've worked with out of district. I think it's not.
So you didn't send Muskogee plans to ODOT to have them review it?
The Muskogee
a plan that's supposed to be going for
widening from, no, we did not. We wouldn't normally do that. That's a city street. That's not.
And I can address your question here in a second, but if I can, just let me finish and then we can talk more. But the purpose of that street, with that thinking of that day, was it was a state highway. And it's designed that way. It doesn't take into consideration where buildings are placed. It doesn't take into consideration all the driveways that were there. I mean, sure, there were gravel driveways, and there's lots of kind of complicated geometries there. The goal, just like what we state in the plan, the goal is try and bring Downing to the type of economic prosperity that exists in other parts of Tahlequah, and advocate for the best thing that can happen, the best idea that maybe works in some other place and could work here. We still think that there's a possibility for other improvements that aren't a road diet or aren't a reduction in lanes, but we haven't had the opportunity to explore those. And the comprehensive plan really isn't the vehicle for getting into those details. But what we describe is, because there's so many driveways and there's so many streets that cross, that it's a geometry issue, it's a turning radius issue. And that specific challenge means that if you had more right-of-way, more sidewalk space, you could actually prepare site plans as new development occurs that would reduce those conflicts. As it is now, it could be worse. You could have, everybody could have 2 to 3 driveways or frankly no curbs across there. But as you walk down the street, if anybody has walked that street, and I have, you can see that if you're in a wheelchair, you can't cross. You can't go up and down the street. So something has to change. Something about Downing has to be improved. And so the purpose of all of this is to find a solution. So the goals we identify and the specific recommendations in there are about safety, about making sure that the community is, it is something that they want, despite the use of the term road diet. We should have left that out. But the complete streets principles are very important, not just to Downing, but the remainder of the community. We advocate and we put in the plan that neighborhood streets should have curb and gutter so that we can limit the amount of erosion that occurs or the drop-offs that occur at Tin Horn. And so there's lots of improvements that can be made. There's just limited funds to do that. And so through the comprehensive plan, a couple of points I want to make is we try and build community and consensus through the process. And we have a lot of consensus on other parts of the plan. And I do encourage you to read it. We're going to have to find a way to get some black and white copies or something on paper for folks to read. I have a hard time reading it. I'm glad you printed that out. The actual cost of printing it, as I think locally we looked at $170-something. So there's just, it's hard to get the document in front of people. When we had the request a couple of weeks ago or a month ago now to put the plan together, we put a lot of the information that we've collected in that document. And there's still in appendices, there's still photographs, there's still lots of work that can be done. And the point made earlier was it is a draft. The purpose of this is to have a review. So the way the process typically works is we will put the draft plan together. It goes back in front of the steering committee. The steering committee would see it. They would make changes, make updates to it. Then it would go to planning commission. After those updates are made, planning commission would hold a public hearing. And then after planning commission made a recommendation one way or another, then it would go to city council. So we haven't had that opportunity for the review. The exact issues and concerns that you have are completely valid and completely realistic as well. But we haven't had that process, that time to put that together.
Well, if I may interject, the reason I put that on the agenda was the timeline given in your publication that we got, when we decided to go with y'all, stated that the process was 17 to 18 months from inception to completion. So we had gone over that. That's why I put it on the agenda, because I hadn't heard any news about where it was, so I was curious, how that process was working, where it was at.
Yeah, we did have the original draft plan document was ready in August, and it was a little bit behind schedule for a couple of reasons, and both for the looking at the TIF district and the possibility of new investment on the east side of town would change some of the numbers and some of the data that we looked at. Obviously, the hospital, the outpatient hospital, that's a huge economic draw. And it can be a huge change in the way we understand things now. So some of that delay and some of that time was trying to give ourselves the opportunity to understand what's going to come to reality, because whatever plan we put forward, we want it to be as close to the real conditions on the ground whenever it's released. And so that's why some of those changes were made. And so we have documents up here. We have a public comment form. I would love it if we could get your public comments written. So we've got it. We have a place for your name and email if you choose to. It's optional. But to make sure that we go through the process of listening and documenting that, in addition to the 3,200 signatures there. Through this process, though, of bringing this document out, we're ready to hear comments and suggestions and changes. There are errors in the document. We got some numbers that are off, and we got some names that are off. So we're going to get those updated and fixed. Excuse me. But the big picture is from this point forward, we are not requesting a scope change for the additional modifications that are necessary, because that's part of the process. As a living document, it needs to be changed. It needs a lot of people looking at it. So we are ready to make those changes for the steering committee and council as well, excuse me. But please, include all of us in communications as they come forward. I've been in intense public meetings before as a staff planner, and I was accused on one side of being in the pocket of the developer and being a tree hugger on the other side. So I've seen the public process, and I really appreciate all of your comments and your passion. The one thing I will say is, I would love this kind of passion at the beginning of the process, and when those public meetings come out. We did have good attendance, but if I had this kind of passion in every community I worked with, we could get things done.
Downing Street didn't get on the steering committee.
That's right.
We asked every on the steering committee. We never got
Not
on
one
it.
time was a road diet introduced. I came to every meeting.
Gentlemen, can we let Mr. Seibel continue his comments?
I'll address two things initially. With 17,000 people in town, we're not able to get to everybody. I know we missed probably entire blocks of downtown. I know we probably missed entire neighborhoods. That's not a satisfactory answer. But we were prepared a list of names that we interviewed and we brought in.
Given by who?
I'm not sure where the list came from.
Clint Johnson?
I don't think so.
Mayor?
So, yeah, let me answer the second point then, is the part of public meetings and the part of getting people involved is there are some things that we just couldn't address. Like, we don't talk about stormwater piping sizes during public meetings because it's kind of a technical issue. We don't talk about curb cut or curb radiuses on sidewalks because it's a technical issue. That design standard is a technical issue, and you can see how easy it is to modify once we have public comment. Yes, sir.
Were you instructed to avoid difficult subjects in those public meetings?
No.
Never one time you said, we're instructed to avoid certain things.
No.
Were you instructed to point out certain things?
So I use my professional judgment in making sure that all the topics are discussed. We knew that the road diet issue was a challenge and something that was out there in the community. If we spent all our time dealing with the conflicts, we'd never get to the larger goal of making sure where we have uniformity, so to speak, or where we have a lot of people that are saying, yeah, we need this, we can focus on that. Because otherwise, the purpose of this plan is actually about the citizens. It's making sure that the stuff we have written here, everybody agrees. And so to that point, yeah, we exercise, there's a lot of conflicting pieces. Fortunately, we don't have a great bunch of developers that are influencing the process or the way I've seen it before. And so sometimes it's been homeowners and developers pitted against each other. Sometimes it's rural and urban pitted against each other. This has frankly been a pretty uniform process up to this point. And I'm frankly happy that it's only this issue because it's easy enough to change.
So, okay, and please answer my question. I asked one question. Who gave you the steering committee?
I don't know who gave you the list. Yeah, we got along. It was chamber folks, it was folks from the tribe, it was business and communities, and we also went up to NSU and talked to the students up there. I wasn't.
Okay, who's the liaison with the steering committee back to the chamber?
I believe we had two members, Ms. Doss and Russell Sane.
For the record, I will say I was not invited to be one of those 60 people. And I went and approached himself and said, hey, I didn't get invited. May I please interview?
I remember that you had done that. And it was Russell Sane had been a member of the Economic Development Committee over the Chamber.
So the 60 people, where did those names come from?
And I think Crafton told us to get community partners. So we said okay and reached out to various organizations, including the university, including the chamber, including I think the public school. I'd have to see the list in front of me. So, and they typically sent names back to us.
So can this group be assured that someone representing them will be on that steering committee?
Oh yeah. Oh, that's what's happening. Yeah, absolutely. And when I came to your office, I calling your office and calling the city planner and the city manager are my first calls to make sure, because I want to know what that relationship looks like. And so I appreciate you being very helpful.
We had a wonderful conversation. All your work on this has been fantastic.
Okay. We're going to fix the one thing that's a problem.
So, Mr. Sidebolt, so tonight I've heard that, all right, we want places to walk, right? We need places that people can cross safely, and we need 4 lanes. Can we get something like that into this plan and take this 3-lane stuff out? Because I'm going to make a motion here in a minute. But I agree that, we need to do something with Downey, right? I think we can make it better without taking anything away from it. So I just want to make sure that I'm not misconstrued my motion, that we're just taking 60 pages of this thing and tossing it out, so we can rework it.
And to that point, real quick, is in city government, we're dealing with a lot of decisions that have been made over the past, and some of those decisions are made by county, sometimes they're state. There's so many layers of complexity here that the ability to get business owners together is really difficult. I've tried it. I've tried to get main streets in towns to try and work with us, and many people have said, I'd love to, but there's no one's going to show up. People aren't just, they don't care. Thankfully, we have the opposite situation here. So yeah, we can modify this. This is draft form. The purpose then, trying to maintain some of those overarching goals, is there's some geometry issues that are just going to be challenging, and it won't be 100% winners. There's some driveways that are real problems, and it's just because of the way the properties are, where the buildings are located, because there's limited right-of-way. Some zoning codes said you could build up to the property line, and then a generation later, you had to build 40 feet back. And so there's just some complicated geometries involved. It will not create 100% winners. That's something to just be aware about. But having public involvement, having people together on a charrette-style idea, that would be perfect. That'd be great to have. And it was not in our scope of work to do that level of detail.
So, Mr. Taylor, not to put you on the spot, but would you be a point of contact, perhaps, maybe to inform some of the people that you know, and then, kind of be a liaison? And of course, whoever else ends up being on the committee. I mean, I don't want to put you on the spot here, ma'am. I don't know what kind of time frames you got, but we need to, I think, have somebody that can, say, okay, thanks for the phone call. I can reach out from there, because he's not in there.
Absolutely, right? And I think hopefully to close this out, and not to say that nobody else can have anything to say, but what we were hoping for at the end of this was that you would remove the pieces of the plan that reference the road diet, that the reduction of lanes be removed, and that we would be allowed a seat at the table, that we would be I think there's people on the steering committee that actually don't live here anymore. So maybe there's a few spots open, and so, I would certainly be open to that. I've spent the last 4 years trying to be heard. So I would absolutely, and I hope that anybody else that, we've become, feels like the Downing group, we haven't formed an association, but we would like to be involved in the process as a voice in what we actually do in Downing. But what I'm really hoping tonight, if I could ask for your action, is to remove the pieces out. I know the big plan is a good plan, but to take out the pieces that reference the road diet, remove them, and terminate any further plans for a road diet, and put us at the table. I would like to keep it a 4-lane. Again, as I said earlier, we absolutely believe that we need better sidewalks. There is not a consistent sidewalk all the way up for people. There's even people that I've seen on their wheelchairs out in the street, you know, and I know that's extremely difficult. And so I think that for us, the sidewalk option is a big thing, crosswalks and things. But I just feel like that we could be involved in that process and moving forward with this committee and whatever, because we just don't want it to be in the plan anymore, because it's been a plan for 4 years. I would like it not to be the plan anymore. Just say, you know what, we thought about it, probably isn't going to work, it's done. Let's just not bring it back up, and let's move forward with a plan that has the input of the business owners involved. Doesn't mean we want to be higher than the citizens, we just want to be included in the process. And so I really ask you tonight, if it's possible, I don't know your exact rules, but if you can vote or take an action that says that you will actually remove the pieces from the plan that have to do with the reduction of lanes and the road diet, and that you would give us a voice, because we just want to be heard. We want to be part of the process because we want to stay on Downing. That's what I ask her.
And I want to say thank you for your patience tonight and having everyone heard. There are some really important things that we recommend for the Downing corridor, and one of those in particular is the current zoning limits the amount of space of where you can have buildings, and also has a requirement for the number of parking. Some of the actions or some of the recommendations that we put in there are actually to reduce the limitations. So you could have 0 lot lines on side yards for internal lots, so that we could have mutual access, so cars could go between businesses instead of having to go out on the Downing and around. And the current regulations, as they're written, mean that you can only develop a certain amount of space. Our recommendation is to basically increase that developable area. Buildings could be, if they wanted to, pulled up to the street. You could also have a mix of uses. Right now, if you want to change, I think we have another agenda item. If you want to have one type of business in a building and you want to put another type of business, you have to change the zoning on that. And so there's a lot more flexibility built into it. So there really are some good things that we are bringing in from around the community on Downing. But I totally hear you about the lanes. None of that stuff has to necessarily change, because I think you would want, or someone who are adding onto the building would want more freedom or want more opportunity to develop on their existing property with outside of the current limitations. So,
can I ask Mark a question, Mayor? Are you scheduled to come, let me rephrase that, can you come down and do a presentation on the plan? Because I know Clint Johnson just referenced that we haven't emailed any questions out yet, and I know I have a lot of questions, obviously. This was very obviously the most pressing issue once this draft document did go public, which is why we're all here tonight, so that we can all sit at the table and communicate effectively. So would it be your recommendation, we could all email our questions and you can come do the presentation, or you can come do the presentation, and that might proactively answer some of the other questions that we all might have about this?
Yeah.
So
I'm available. Let me know.
Okay, is that something that's been discussed as you coming down and giving us your official presentation of this, since this is just the draft version?
It may be easier to collect the public comments, these included, and make the necessary changes, but then also then clarify some of the issues. So there's some word names and things like that need to be changed, but either way, whether it's comments first and then come do the presentation, or it's presentation and comments, it may be easier to collect comments first and then have the presentation once we've had a little bit of time to work through those changes.
Sorry. So your scheduling and availability, I mean...
I'm available. You guys have those in contrast, so we can make it.
Okay.
So could we schedule something without Crafton and Tall? I'm just trying to understand what you said, to get those comments together and kind of, polish, if you will, and then call you. I mean, I hate to call you every week if we're meeting every week, right? So, we do. Yeah. One of those things. But is that what I'm hearing, that we can meet and then kind of come up with some stuff and then
I will do that to you.
Back to you.
Yeah, we are available to serve you through this plan and get you a completed plan that meets the goals of the community. So yeah, let me know.
We can work that out. Councilor Combs?
In the 2 years that I've been here on the council, been here on a while, the dynamics of Downing have changed tremendously with hopefully a planned development. The health systems that are going in will soon to be open. I mean, it's changed a lot when this plan first came out. So.
Thank you very much for your questions, and thank you all for listening.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mark.
Mark, you make sure everybody gets those as they leave.
Counselor?
Yeah.
That way, make sure you put you in.
Very quickly, yes, ma'am.
Stand over there if they leave.
He stated that this was the only thing in the plan right now that was a problem. How do we find out whether or not there are other problems in the plan?
There will be a process. Mr. Seibold, you'll have.
Yeah. So the easiest way is we supplied the 7 or 8 requested copies. The easiest way to do this, having done this before, is to have some paper copies here so people can come and read them or to check out. It's a lot of information, a lot of data, and it's going to take some time to go through. That presentation where we talk through the process and talk through kind of how it's put together, we can get into a lot more detail. But really the important thing are the last 2 sections. There's an implementation tables and there's policies and recommendations. And that's where everything is really boiled down. So the first 2/3 of the document is following the process of the communication we had with people, all the public hearings that we had, and it's really the last 2 sections that really talk about how to make these changes that we're proposing work and what things are high cost, what things are low cost that are easy to do. But it may be better to have a couple of copies at City Hall that you can come check out, because it's not fair to have people trying to go print it for $150 or whatever.
And Ms. Seibold and Ms. Rogers, it's available online. If you go to the city's website, it's over there. And if you want to do it that way, or if someone else asks, we do have it available online.
Were you made privy to those previously in the past comprehensive studies? Were you made privy to those that the city and a lot of people in this room paid for, like
the previous plans?
Yeah, comprehensive plans. Were they transferred to you to have input in this?
Yeah, we had paper copies.
Did you see any commonalities and things that you saw that's from the past and beyond?
I'll be honest with you, it's been 18 months since I looked back those previous ones when we started the preparation for this part. But I can go back through, and if it's helpful to the team and everybody to look at a comparison between the 2 tables. But I know the timeline difference was something that we really were challenged with because the economic conditions have largely changed.
Councilors, any final comments, and then we'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we...
Well, okay, Tess, go ahead.
Sorry, you want me to come up there, or can you?
Just go ahead from there.
Okay, I'm just going to ask a question as a citizen. It has nothing to do with me writing for the Daily Press. Mentioned that you can already hear the cars on Downing go by pretty quickly. Had a situation with that with my 1-year-old on Saturday. That was not a fun night. He kept waking up because somebody on cruise night was, going really fast. So if this plan, or this Downing situation, if it is to where you guys decide to make it into a 2-3 lane to slow down traffic, is that potentially going to cut back on cruise night or anybody else that's going to be going insanely fast?
That was always one of the...
Not everybody follows the speed limit, sir.
Test very quickly. That was always one of the things that we always would mention, and that could be at least a potential positive, is that it would probably reduce the amount of drag racing and things whenever these conversations would take place. Informal ones, we would bring that up. But that would be something that we thought might be beneficial. Chief King?
I was just going to say, currently, we enforce Downing quite heavily, and what happens is they just move to Allen Road by Angus Brandon, or they move to Eastertown, and we just chase them all over town like tacos all night. We really do. And so I
They wake me up on, they usually call the guy that said, "Get on down, you got to write some tickets." But Tess, the early conversations I had never took any concept whatsoever as far as where I think you live. So it wouldn't have gone outside that bypass ring because of that limitation from ODOT. But in theory, that was something that always kind of got brought up in those conversations. Ms. Masters, very quickly.
If you ever get bored on a Friday night, just come to our house and park in the front, and you can hear what he's talking about.
Oh, yeah.
All the way from our house down to...
You can hear it at my house.
Oh, she can hear it at her house.
I live on the west side of town, and I can hear it.
They really get after it.
Councilors, do you all have any other questions or comments?
It's like y'all were never
Oh, no,
done.
there's somebody in the back, way in the back. Yes, ma'am.
It's like you were never
Can you,
done.
if we're going to continue the conversation, come on up to the front. I mean, all right.
I just have a quick question.
Oh, okay.
As to, are you for this or against this? And did you sign the petition or did you not sign the petition?
I signed it in 3 places to make sure. In fact, part of the surreptitiously recorded conversation that was played this evening was me trying to make clear to a local business that I'm not for what was on that petition. And all I'm for is a conversation about how to improve Downing. That's all I support. And if it's 5 lanes, 2 lanes, a unicycle track, if you all decide that's what you want, that's what we will do. That was part of the process we went through with the planning company.
I will just say, I work at Briggs, and when the striping was going on, it was really, really congested. Sure. And I cannot imagine it being a 2-lane.
Well, neither can I.
Down 4th Street on Willow, and I hear all the noise on the bypass too. So it's not just a localized Downing problem.
When they're, oh, go ahead, ma'am. I apologize.
I just really think it's good for me to rethink this situation on changing it to a 2-lane.
Well, ma'am, there's never been the consideration very technically of a 2-lane, but with the center turn. And then to be clear.
Can I say, in Bolton, Alabama, I was in the turn lane. I got hit head-on in the turn lane by a vehicle pileup because someone did the exact same thing that you're talking about.
Sure.
So I think...
Well, to answer your question, I'm for a conversation about this. I have people come to me in support, and I promise them to go have a conversation with those who are against. And Ms. Taylor, that day that we had met, I think it was down the hall here with Mr. Carr and everyone else, that was an attempt to try to bring the 2 groups in the room, to try to talk it out, and it didn't go as planned. But we definitely want your input, and that's never changed. So, to answer your question, you'll hear me try to advocate for people who want it, and you will hear me go back to people who do want it and tell them your concerns if you hang out with me much. Sometimes that gets lost in these conversations. So thank you for asking. I'm for whatever helps Downing. Councilors, any other comments?
I'll make a motion that we replace the plans for Downing Street road diet with a plan that encompasses all 4 lanes of traffic.
There's a motion from Councilor Bliss. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
We're still getting a plan.
Can you repeat that one more time? I want to make sure. Hold on, repeat this one. Make sure. Come on, second.
To replace the plans for Downing Street road diet with the plan that encompasses all 4 lanes of traffic. So I'm saying we need a plan, right? We need a plan that has all 4 lanes. So I just don't want to strike a plan and then, crap until I say, well, that's less work we got. And I'm not saying y'all would do that, but
you gotta have an ADA sidewalk up some fire code.
So I want to see a plan come. I want to see the 4 lanes there.
So you're referencing the complete streets that have the sidewalks and the walkability component in conjunction with 4 lanes so that the businesses can get the...
Whatever plan that the planners want to plan into the plan. But as the road diet is, then yeah, we need to scratch the road diet and have all 4 lanes and go from there. So that's...
I'll second.
Well, I think that Councilor Long.
Yeah, I had a second. I just wanted to make sure I was 100% clear on the motion.
Clerk, you were taking notes over there. I hope Steve didn't get on to you, but you were looking, did you get everything while you were, all that was going on?
I think I've got it. Basically replaced the plans for the road diet to encompass all 4 lanes, but I didn't know if we need to incorporate the sidewalks and the details of that.
Well, I think that stuff will end up getting hashed out in you know, when we get the committees together and the people that need to be involved with that. I mean, I think, you know, they can work out those little details, but I think what we're being asked tonight is just keep 4 lanes, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, that's what I'm hearing.
As long as you got it and you tell me we're good. Good. We'll give us a roll call.
Councilor Long?
Yes.
Councilor Combs?
Yes.
Councilor Hires?
Yes.
Councilor Bliss?
Yes.
Motion carried.
In fact, councilors, do you all want to take a recess to look into this case, or do you want to? Okay, make a motion.
Please, make a motion that we take a 5-minute recess.
We have a motion for a 5-minute recess. Second. 22-minute, 5-minute recess, and so we will need a motion to return to our regular session.
Second.
And clerk call the roll.
Councilor Long?
Yes.
Councilor Combs?
Yes.
Councilor Bliss?
Yes.
Councilor Hires?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item number 7 is discussion and possible action to adopt ordinance number 1274, 2018, rezoning the property located at 223 Northeast Avenue, more particularly described as Lot 2, Block 3, less than north 18.5 feet per highway, Moore Heights Addition, Cherokee County, Oklahoma, from Neighborhood Commercial District C1 to General Commercial District C2. Johnson.
So, this is the second reading of 1274, 2018. Did you say 2018 on your agenda?
Yes. Yes.
Just gonna follow that.
Well, as long as the ordinance number is unique,
We'll get her right. Good to go.
yeah.
So this is the second reading. We presented this on January 22nd, I believe it was. We clicked to the next slide. Ironically, this parcel is located on Downing. So it wasn't planned that way, it just worked out that way. And it's right across the street from Tahlequah. So the applicant is requesting a C2 zoning district, which would allow for a small animal veterinary clinic. The property is currently C1, and that's a prohibited activity in the neighborhood commercial district. So, in order to allow the applicant to have their business of a veterinarian, this rezoning would have to be approved. Any questions about it? Again, it's the second reading.
And this ordinance should be 1274-2019, correct?
That's what I caught when I read it.
Well, I think you presented to planning zoning in December.
That's
The
it.
start of the process was in the prior year.
Right.
And as long as it's unique, it ultimately will not.
Yeah, it did. It started in 18. Yep.
Motion to approve the rezoning.
Second. Motion and a second. Approval. Any other questions or comments? Clerk call roll.
Councilor Combs?
Yes.
Councilor Hires?
Yes.
Councilor Bliss?
Yes.
Councilor Long? Yes. Motion carried.
Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Clint. Item number 8 is discussion and possible action to accept the transfer of the encumbrance clerk in the managerial department to the recreation coordinator in the Parks and Recreation Department with a change in grade and step effective January 26, 2019. Ms. Page?
Kind of a little bit of new language there just on the effective date, just for the simple, the reason why we wanted to do that is just to coincide with the current payrolls that we have. We've run into a few issues with some police officers and fees pension and such, and so when you do things in the middle of a payroll, it causes problems. So that's why there's a specific date in there. Also, This is kind of part of the reorganization. Charles and I have been busy collecting applications. This is one of the positions that we'd like to go ahead and fill now. Heather Torrento is the encumbrance clerk, and we'd like to put her in the position of the recreational coordinator at a T115 step 1.
Could you repeat her last name, please?
It's Torrento, Torrento.
And you said T115 step 1?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So I will happily make a motion that we transfer Ms. Heather Torrento to a T115 step 1 as requested.
Second.
Motion and a second. Clerk, give us a roll call.
Counselor Byers?
Yes.
Counselor Bliss?
Yes.
Counselor Long? Yes. Counselor Combs?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item number 9 is discussion and possible action to accept the transfer of the laborer operator to the foreman in the solid waste department with a change in grade and step effective January 26, 2019.
And same reason, and I conducted these interviews with Chris Armstrong. We'd like to offer the position to Larry Blackman. He is currently an employee there and has been with the city for about 11 years. He was the candidate that we've selected. Again, this position is also classified as a T115, and we'd like to offer him a step 1.
I will happily make a motion that we transfer Mr. Larry Blackman into the position as requested at a T115 step 1.
So a motion from Councilor Combs is, or excuse me, sorry, Councilor Long, is there a second?
Second.
Second from Bliss. Roll call, please, clerk.
Counselor Bliss?
Yes.
Counselor Long?
Yes.
Counselor Combs?
Yes.
Counselor Byers?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Item number 10 is discussion and, well, not possible action, is going to happen. Discussion and action to approve the purchase of a 6110 John Deere tractor with a 22-foot boom mower. Commissioner Riles.
Yes, I apologize. We will make it possible. Anyway, in the budget, we do have the money. It's been budgeted to purchase this John Deere tractor with a 22-foot boom mower. It is what we use to trim the limbs and root bushes back from on the sides of the alleys, on the sides of the streets, to mow slopes that are too steep to get a tractor on. Again, it's a budgeted item. It's on state contract. So, any questions?
Thank you, Wayne, for buying the state contract.
Okay, you're
You
fine.
made me very happy.
Okay.
Is that a motion?
I will happily make a motion to approve the 6110M John Deere tractor in the amount of $128,991.89.
Is there a second?
That is the correct, yeah, right, that's the correct total, right? 128,991.89, very important.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second, Councilor Long and Bliss. Do we have any other questions or comments? Call roll, please.
Counselor Long?
Yes.
Counselor Combs?
Yes.
Counselor Byers?
Yes.
Counselor Bliss?
Yes.
Motion carried.
That was very good action, and I appreciate it.
We had to take it, so, you know.
Next time, I will give you a choice.
Okay, I appreciate that. I guess the action could have been, sorry, Commissioner. So we're glad you got your good. Councilors, when would you all, oh no, wait, I think that we had decided that the clerk is going to be absent and barring some unusual circumstance that requires us to find a substitute for a very important reason. We would skip the mid-month meeting and go into March. Is that still okay with everyone? Seeing no objection, we won't schedule one now, and we'll entertain a motion on item 12 to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and second, Councilor Combs and Long. Roll call, please, clerk.
Counselor Combs?
Yes.
Counselor Byers?
Yes.
Counselor Bliss?
Yes.
Counselor Long?
Yes.
Motion carried.
We are adjourned.